Some places hold more than dirt, and trees they hold promises, carved deep into the roots of the land. My family's 10 acres of pine forest in rural Virginia was one of those places. It was where my 12-year-old grandson, Tommy, found hope after a brutal fight with leukemia. It was where I, a retired Marine Corps gunnery sergeant, swore to protect him. And it was where a woman named Linda, the new HOA president, thought she could rewrite our legacy with a clipboard and a sneer. She was wrong. But when she pushed Tommy off the ramp he built with his own trembling hands, she didn't just cross a line, she started a war. This is the story of what happens when entitlement meets a man who's run out of patience. The forest was our refuge. Tommy's cancer had stolen 2 years of his childhood, leaving him with legs that barely worked and a spine held together by surgical pins. After the hospitals, the chemo, and the pitying stares of city folks, we came to the cabin my father left me, a rough-hewn sanctuary on land he'd refused to sell, no matter the offers. He called it the quiet place, and for Tommy, it was a lifeline. We built a wheelchair ramp together, nothing fancy, just sturdy enough to get him over the roots and into the cabin. He'd hold nails with shaky fingers, paint with slow strokes, and grin when the wind rustled the pines like they were cheering him on. At night, under the porch light, he'd ask, "Will I ever run again, Grandpa?" I'd choke back the truth and say, "You'll outrun the wind, kid." But I was scared something would shatter the peace we'd carved out. Trouble arrived on a crisp October morning. Linda, a woman in her late 50s with a helmet of bleached hair and a clipboard clutched like a scepter, marched past our private property sign like it was a suggestion. 2 men in neon HOA vests trailed her, arms crossed, sunglasses glinting. She surveyed our ramp and cabin like a general inspecting a battlefield. "This area's under HOA maintenance now," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "Structures like this need approval." I wiped sawdust from my hands and stepped off the porch. "This is my land, ma'am. 3 generations, no HOA. We didn't sign your contract." She smirked, thin and cold. "The boundaries changed. You're inside our zone now." She crouched, snapping photos of the ramp like it was evidence in a crime. Tommy peeked from the doorway, his face pale. Linda's eyes flicked to him. "Is he disabled?" she asked, like it was a flaw. "He's recovering," I said, my voice tight. "And you're done here." She stood, brushing her slacks. "Aggression toward HOA officials is reportable harassment." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Trespassing's a crime. Expect a visit if you come back." She snapped her clipboard shut. "You'll get a violation notice." Then she strutted off, leaving heel marks in the dirt. Tommy whispered, "Why does she hate our ramp?" I had no answer, just a knot in my chest. Linda wasn't here to negotiate, she was here to conquer. The real fight came 3 days later. I was in the shed, sorting bolts, when a thud broke the quiet, followed by Tommy's scream. I dropped everything and sprinted to the cabin. Tommy lay sprawled in the dirt, his wheelchair tipped over, a gash on his forehead bleeding into the soil. Linda stood over him, her smile smug, her clipboard nowhere in sight. "What did you do?" I roared, dropping to my knees beside Tommy. She didn't flinch. "He was reckless. Nearly hit my foot. That ramp's unsafe, too steep, no rails. I did him a favor." Tommy's voice shook. "She pushed me, Grandpa. I swear." Linda scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. I barely touched him." I stood, fist clenched so tight my knuckles cracked. "You laid hands on my grandson. On my land." She stepped back, eyes narrowing. "I enforced safety protocols. You people can't just build whatever you want because you've got a sob story." "You people?" I repeated, my voice low, lethal. "Outsiders," she spat. "Rule breakers who think their feelings trump authority." Then she turned, brushing her sleeve like she'd already won. "If you can't keep him quiet, maybe this isn't your place." Something snapped inside me. I'd stayed calm my whole life, not because I'm soft, but because I know what I'm capable of when I'm not. I let the leash slip. I stormed to the shed, yanked open the locked cabinet, and grabbed the machete my father used to clear brush still sharp, still heavy with memory. Then I reached for the gas can. Linda was 50 yards away, barking orders at her HOA lackeys, when I fired up the old case bulldozer. Its engine roared like a beast unchained, and I steered straight for the flimsy HOA fence they dared to plant on my land. The blade tore through the wood like paper, splinters flying, a red HOA sign snapping under the treads. Linda spun around, mouth agape. I didn't stop. I swung the blade sideways, slamming into her shiny SUV with a crunch that echoed through the trees. Glass shattered. Metal screamed. Linda shrieked louder. What are you doing? I cut the engine and climbed down, my stare cold enough to freeze blood. You want proof? Here it is. I snatched her phone and smashed it against a pine, plastic and glass exploding. You touched my grandson. You trespassed. You think your rules make you untouchable? They don't. She stumbled back, hands raised. Call the police, she yelled at her men. But they froze, eyes wide. They weren't paid enough to face a man who'd just flattened a fence and caved in a car. I grabbed the steel netting and rope from the bulldozer's storage bin gear I used for hauling logs, now repurposed. Linda kicked and screamed as I looped the rope around her arms, cinching it tight. You're insane, she spat, but I'd handled worse in combat zones. I hooked the net to the bulldozer's crane arm and hoisted her up, her feet dangling, her dress flapping like a broken flag. I pulled out my phone and started a live stream. This is Linda, I said, voice steady. HOA president, trespasser, child assaulter. Caught on my land after pushing my grandson off his ramp. Comments flooded in talk, anger, calls for justice. Linda twisted, sobbing. He's lying. I lowered the crane just enough for her toes to graze the dirt. Want mercy? Tell the truth. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean to hurt him. You meant to control him, I said. That's worse. I ended the stream and leaned in close. The sheriff's coming. If Tommy doesn't walk again, neither will you. The sheriff's cruiser rolled up 20 minutes later. Sheriff Daniels, a grizzled man I'd known since high school, raised an eyebrow at Linda dangling like a scarecrow. Got an explanation, Frank? Videos on my phone, I said. She trespassed, assaulted Tommy, and tried to claim my land. Linda, now cuffed and on the ground, whined. He attacked me. I was protecting the neighborhood. Daniels held up a hand. We saw the stream, Linda. And the emails from your board resigning this morning. Her face crumpled. They hauled her into the cruiser. Her pride as broken as her SUV. I didn't gloat. I walked back to Tommy, who was patched up but shaken, and made him tea while our dog, Rusty, curled up at his feet. By nightfall, the video was everywhere. HOA tyrant caught assaulting disabled boy screamed the headlines. Neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years left voicemails, confessing they'd been bullied by Linda into silence. The HOA board imploded. 7 of 10 members quit. The local paper ran a front-page story. HOA scandal rocks county. Reporters camped at the edge of my property, but I didn't talk. I wasn't proud. I was furious it had come to this. The sheriff called the next day. Linda's charged with assault, trespassing, property destruction, and child endangerment. Judge denied bail. I didn't cheer. I just breathed. Then a state official showed up, saying the governor's office wanted me to testify for new laws to curb HOA overreach. I looked at Tommy, his arm in a sling but his eyes bright, and said, I'll speak. The trial was a reckoning. The courtroom, packed with neighbors and reporters, smelled of wax and tension. The prosecutor played the video Linda flailing, me narrating her crimes. Medical records showed Tommy's bruises and the wrist to his fragile spine. Sheriff Daniels testified about Linda's history of intimidation. I took the stand and told them everything. Her trespassing, her fake violations, the way she looked at Tommy like he was a stain on her perfect world. She didn't just push a boy, I said. She tried to erase him. Linda's defense was weak. She fake cried, claiming she misunderstood, and called me unstable. The prosecutor gutted her. Did you push a disabled child? She mumbled, I don't remember it that way. The jury took 40 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Assault, trespassing, child endangerment, abuse of power. The judge sentenced her to 10 years, no parole for 5. Linda screamed, calling it a conspiracy, but the cuffs silenced her. The room clapped not loud, but real. Outside, Tommy squinted at the sky. She looked small today, he said. She always was, I replied. The aftermath was loud. The governor pushed an anti-HOA overreach act, with my testimony attached. HOAs statewide scrambled to rewrite their rules. Linda's name became a warning. But what mattered was Tommy. He started wheeling out to the ramp again, insisting we rebuild it stronger, paint it blue, carve our family name into the wood. Neighbors helped, bringing tools and pies, one man crying as he admitted he'd stayed silent too long. We burned the last of Linda's fence, the flames eating her legacy while Rusty watched, tail thumping. One morning, I found Tommy hammering a new sign into the ground where Linda's HOA marker once stood. It read, Welcome to Heritage Ground. Respect it or leave. He grinned. She's not coming back, right? Never, I said. Weeks later, the state sent a plaque for my role in the new law. I nailed it to the oldest pine, planted by my father in '59. That evening, Tommy wheeled down the ramp, faster than ever, and raised his arms like a victor. Still standing, he shouted. I laughed, my heart full. This wasn't about revenge. It was about roots protecting what's yours when someone tries to rip it away. Linda didn't just fall. She exposed a system that lets petty tyrants rule through fear. And when you stand up, you remind the world that silence isn't neutral, it's a choice. What would you do if someone like Linda crossed your family? Was I right to fight back with force, or should I have stayed calm and called the law? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Let's talk about justice, violence, and how far you'd go to protect what's yours. If this story moved you, like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Stand tall, because some roots don't just hold ground, they hold the line.